What's one of the most overrated supplement trends that you're seeing right now?
Creatine. I personally, when I use creatine, I get big, feel bloated. And that's taking 3 grams, 3 to 5 grams, okay? So I can't imagine what taking 20 grams is going to be.
It affects everything from our brain, our energy, our joints, our heart health.
You don't look your normal self. The mood can be affected. Your sleep is not great. And it eats away at your vitality. It makes no sense to me that we are all taking the same dosage. I do think that we need to wait and see what the data shows. I have no doubt it's going to show profound effect on brain and mood, simply because that organ takes up 20% of your metabolic rate. For now, stick to your 5 grams.
Today's a really special day. Dr. Ara Suppiah, welcome to Rooted in Wellness.
I am beyond excited and grateful.
We've been talking for 2 hours already. I'm finally happy we started to record. You and I bonded over a really cool story. We bonded over a fun night in New York City on a rooftop with IM8, an amazing company.
Yeah.
And you had me just at your incredible story. So I'm excited to share that.
Oh.
And a lot of the debunking that I love that you do. All right. So before we dive into all of that good stuff, you should know that this podcast is all about ancient wisdom in our modern day world, and really how we can become more rooted in ourself and our happiness and our joy, but also our inner sense of knowing that our body can heal.
Yeah.
So we always ask everybody, what helps you feel more rooted in your health and your happiness?
Movement. As long as I move, I feel like everything is okay. Right. And for me, movement is, I've studied movement for a long time. I first studied it as a physician, looking at it, in its most, complex way. And then now I study it as a form of expression, right? Like if you look at a child move and you see how brilliantly the whole system just works, and how it's, as long as you move, you sustain movement, you sustain the whole system. And so, yeah, for me, even on my days when I'm tired, I move. In days when I feel good, I move. When I want to get creative, I move. I'm not somebody, and Deepak will probably cringe at this, but I can't sit and meditate. Like I struggle. Like my mind wanders, it goes everywhere. And so I found that when I run at a certain speed, I breathe and I get into a meditative state, and I get the most brilliant ideas come my way. My mind calms down, and I'm not the same person when I stop running. The person that went for a run is very different than the person who came back from the run. So to me, that would be the secret. Yeah.
Movement is a form of meditation. Like, I'm a firm believer. It's one of my favorite places to just find stillness in my body. So I love that you said that, especially having been born in Malaysia and your access to, exactly, different types of mindfulness practices. So on the flip side, then, we have to understand, with all the professional athletes that you work with, all of these top performers, you can see the difference between when they feel rooted versus when they feel uprooted. And I'm sure that you've noticed yourself, when you feel uprooted, maybe you're not in movement those days. What are some things that cause you to feel uprooted in today's modern world?
Oh, a lot. One of the biggest things that will uproot me is when I get caught up with, comparing myself to somebody else, right? Especially in the, social media world or whatever. Like, you're always seeing somebody else doing something better, somebody else, or, achieving something else. And you almost get caught up in that and think like, how come I'm not doing that? And you go down this rabbit hole. And that is one of the things that, thank God, I have people in my life that will always bring me back and go, Ara, look what you've done. Look where you came from. Look at what you're doing. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? And I have a line that I heard long time ago, and kind of egoistic, but it says, lions don't play with zebras. Right? So I I always tell myself, okay, I'm a lion. They're all zebras. I'm not playing with them. I'm running my own race, and that is something that gets me uprooted. And I see that even with athletes, you know, um, many times they will get very caught up on a contract negotiation or a fee or something because somebody else is getting more, and they're like, well, I've done this, and the other. Like, how come he's getting more? And they become all of this, when in reality, it's not about that.
Absolutely.
So comparison is, I think, the primary thing that uproots me most of the time.
That's funny. This goes back to how we started the conversation in my kitchen. The fact that our kind of genius zone is staying in our lane.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I thought about you working with all these athletes in the world of optimization and excellence. When they're performing, they're not looking to see what the person next to them is doing.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah, they're
No.
in their lane and they're mastering that skill. So that is
Correct.
such a great, let's call it a life hack for now,
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
So I find you have a very special spot in the world of social media. You have a very special corner. I find myself going there for some solace
Oh,
because
really? Wow. Okay.
because you debunk a lot of the trending themes and things that are out there in wellness, and you break it down not only from your expertise, but you make it very tangible. So we're going to do
Thank you.
things a little bit different today. We're going
Yeah.
to start up with some warm-up rapid fire questions that I know you've answered before. Let's go. What's one of the most overrated supplement trends that you're seeing right now?
Overrated supplement trends. Okay. I would say two things. One is this whole thing with creatine. Okay. And they're looking at it. Look, I do think, given the science, it has a profound effect on the brain. I agree with that. But the dosing's what's bothering me, right? They're talking about mega high doses, 20 grams. And, as someone who, I personally, when I use creatine, I get big. I get like, it's water retention. I know what it is. Like, I feel big. I feel bloated, right? Yes, the power output goes up. Yes, my recovery goes up, but I feel bigger. Okay. And that's taking 3 grams, 3 to 5 grams.
Wow.
Okay. So I can't imagine what taking 20 grams is going to be. And I also think that we are very early in the space, right? I do think that we need to wait and see what the data shows. I I have no doubt it's going to show profound effect on brain and mood, because simply because that organ takes up 20% of your metabolic rate. So yes, but that is something I would say, for now, stick to your 5 grams. Number one. Number two, I do think that, especially women, based on the menstrual cycle, whether they're going through the menopause or come out the menopause, the hormones have a profound effect on the brain. Okay. And so, as part of that, their requirement for any supplement, creatine being one of them, is going to fluctuate during the cycle. So having a one, throwaway 20 grams, 30 grams, I don't think that's the right thing. So
We're
I'm
not
going
there
to
yet.
I'm going to say that. Yeah.
I love that.
So
Thank
that's
you.
one.
That's one.
The other big thing that I've noticed is, there's a lot of use of collagen. Okay. So they've done studies. My initially, when I looked at collagen, I didn't understand it, because I was like, well, it's a protein, right? Like, if you take collagen, it's not going to make your tendons better, because it gets broken down to amino acids, and then the brain uses its intelligence to say, let's make more tendons, let's make more ligaments, let's make more cartilage. And so I was like, that would be like me saying, if I want a better heart, I need to eat more heart muscle, like,
Right. Right.
cow's heart or whatever heart, right? It doesn't work that way. So I was like, not sure. Then I looked into the data, and there are studies that show that, the molecules, the amino acids from the collagen actually get embedded in the collagen. Okay. But I do think that that supplement is everywhere. It doesn't, taking collagen doesn't account for your daily protein intake. Okay. And the source of the collagen is very, very important,
Yes.
super important.
It comes from hoofs and
Yes.
hide.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
look at where it comes from, and like, even marine collagen.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like you're better off not having it.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
Personally, I know I've never used it, and I have no joint issues, no ligament issues, no tendon issues. If someone's having surgery, maybe there's an argument to have it just to supplement it initially.
Mm.
But honestly, I think if you have enough proteins, enough amino acids, enough of the other things, the micronutrients, right,
Yeah.
that you get from dark green vegetables, from fruit and vegetables, that will supplement your diet and that complement your diet, from mushrooms, those things are just as important. Because if you don't have the vitamin C's, you can't use this collagen on its own. So I think having a diet that's rich in protein with all the other things will be just as good. So
Back to real
I
food.
really, I don't have anyone on collagen right now.
I love it. These are hot trends too. So
Yes.
many brands out there are
Yep.
launching products.
Yep.
Sourcing matters. Understand where it matters. And I always laugh when I see collagen for your hair, for your skin, for your nails. Collagen doesn't have intelligence to know.
No.
Oh, let's go to her crow's feet around
Yeah,
her
yeah,
eyes.
exactly.
It's
Like,
special work there.
I'm going to eat collagen just for this. Like, no, it doesn't work that way, dude.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay.
Okay. You have spent time living with a hs-CRP. We're going to talk about that. One ancestral habit that you still practice every single day.
Oh, wow. Okay. Kudos to my grandmother and my Indian heritage. I never did it when I was young. I kind of, this is so interesting, right? When I was young, especially when I was a rebellious teenager, I used to think like my grandma and my mom and all these practices were like, they're so dumb. Like, why are they doing this? And then as I've got older, I go, wow, they were genius. Like, so every full moon. Listen, it's a big thing in Indian culture, okay? Every full moon and every no moon. That's what my grandmother would say. No moon, I fast.
You still do that?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, I go by the calendar of where I live at that moment, because otherwise, like, which calendar am I following? So when there's no moon and there's full moon, I go without food.
Thank you, Grandma.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that. And who knew? I literally launched this podcast to have people like you're a Western trained medical doctor talking to me about fasting during a moon. Okay. Thank you.
That's my grandma. There you go.
The biggest lie that the fitness industry keeps selling.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going for it.
You're really going there, huh? Okay. So the current one that really, like, it's not necessarily a lie. It's the way they there's a lot of emphasis on grip strength. Okay. Okay. Grip strength is just one. Let's start there, right? As a marker for overall health, for strength, for longevity. Okay. Yes, there's data that shows that, but they have never said why. Number one. Number two, your grip strength is very dependent on the size of your hands and size of certain fingers.
Yeah, long fingers, shorter fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you and I could be exactly the same. Your hand size could be different. Your grip strength could be different. Okay. If you have arthritis in your wrist, it is going to affect your grip strength. Okay. And it's like saying, of the vowels, A is the most powerful vowel. It's too reductionist, So I see people hanging and doing things for the grip strength, and I'm like, but you want to incorporate that. Don't just do it for the sake of grip strength.
Right.
That's not the point. The point is you want to utilize it to enhance your strength, right? On its own, like, I know people who have incredible grip strength who can't run a mile.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point.
Right?
And we're purchasing these things to test, out of fear. Oh, if I can hang for 2 to 3
Yes.
minutes, then I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm strong.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just one marker.
Right.
And also, when I look at movement, right? Like I told you, I've studied movement. At a basic thing, You need speed, strength, endurance, agility, and power. Okay? All of those things. When you see an athlete and you don't know anything about them, but you see an athlete and your eyes go to them and you're like, as a fellow human, you appreciate the movement. They have one of those components.
Right.
And then there's also vision and will, right? But grip strength alone doesn't give you that.
Right.
Right? So I have seen professional golfers whose grip strengths weren't great, who hit the ball a mile. Okay? I've seen, people, I've done this. We recently had construction workers in my house. And I mean, these guys are, sheetrock, lifting it up, like super strong, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him to do the grip strength and like nothing.
Wow.
I'm like, that's fascinating, huh? But his hands were all arthritic, like he couldn't actually do it.
Right.
So
Makes sense.
that's one of those things. Like, don't get caught up with just, grip strength, doing farmers walks and hanging and all this kind of stuff, because you want to put it in practice.
Yeah.
Where does your grip strength come in? Speed, power, strength, endurance, agility.
So good.
Put it in there. So.
All right. What's your favorite go-to anti-inflammatory food when traveling?
Oh. Omega-3s.
Where do you get them from?
So, okay. I have, so studying the inflammatory response and allostatic load on athletes, right, has been my body of work for 20 years. And I study the effects of inflammation, and I understand how a significant amount of inflammation at the wrong time will affect performance and recovery. So one of the methods, apart from sleep is the best anti-inflammatory. But if you're traveling, then using omega-3s in the right doses, guided by blood work, will allow me to dampen the inflammatory response.
Beautiful.
So as the source, there's the one I use personally is a fish base. So I use a company, I have no affiliations, Nordic Naturals, because they're the cleanest ones.
Yeah, they're
one of the
clean.
cleanest ones I can get hold of.
Yeah.
But it's more the dosing. So for instance, I use 3 grams because there's something called the omega-3 index that I want it to be, closer to 10. So for me, I need 3 grams.
Beautiful. We're going to talk more about omegas. One lesson modern medicine could relearn from ancestral living.
Oh,
All the big ones.
Oh,
right off the
my
get-go.
God.
I know. We're dropping into the deep stuff.
at its core,
Yeah.
it is understanding that the body can heal itself.
My favorite words.
You don't have to get in the way.
Yeah.
Even I've seen this, Mona. I've seen us completely. I was working in the intensive care. I've worked in multiple intensive cares in multiple countries. And I've seen this time and over again. We get a patient, we kind of know. Like, people think medicine's very precise. It's not. Many times in intensive cares, you get the infectious disease doctor there, the nephrologist there, the pulmonologist there, the cardiologist there, because they have multiple organs that are failing, right? They kind of all agree, but they're all kind of also not sure. And you have this scenario, okay? And what we do is we are giving the body time. That's what we're doing. Fundamentally, if you strip away all the nonsense,
Yeah.
you're giving the body time to heal itself. And some people don't, unfortunately. But the ones who get up and walk out of the ICU, the body recovered itself. So I think giving the body time comes from, I work in the ER, and I'm told that, I go to see a patient within this many minutes and then discharge them by this many minutes, or admit them by this many minutes. That's not healing.
Yeah.
Healing needs time. And time doesn't need to be long, doesn't need to be short. It just, you as the recipient of the healing needs to feel that you've had my time.
A lot of my work with my clients is about breaking them out of the fear cycle of the illness or the symptom that they have, or the lens that's put on longevity right now. Everything is fear-based instead of wisdom-based, based on owning what your constitution needs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
difference that it feels energetically in just pursuing one versus the other. Anything that's fear-based, thinking that you're destined to get
It's
sick or
suffocating.
inflate, suffocating.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one. A biomarker that you wish everyone tested at least once a year, and why?
Oh, okay. For me, it would be like what I talked about, the omega-3
Omegas.
index.
Yeah.
And the reason is there's been a lot of work done by Dr. Simopoulos, and he showed that we used to have the not the omega-3, the omega-3 studies, but like you compare omega-3s to omega-6s, right? And for keeping it very simple, omega-3s tend to be anti-inflammatory and omega-6s tend to be more pro-inflammatory. You need both, okay? Back in the day, and funnily enough, when I tested the Hadza, the ratio is 1 to 1,
Wow.
okay? Nowadays, in the Western diet, it's 1 omega-3, 20
Really?
omega-6.
20.
Yes.
Wow.
So we live in a inflammatory state. It's too out of balance. Okay, and that comes mostly from our diet.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about ultra processed foods as being the biggest source for this omega-6 and omega-9 ratio that cause inflammation. But you have to now dig deeper into what the animals are eating
Yeah.
at the farms and
Yes.
what you're consuming from those
Correct.
animals.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just avoiding ultra processed foods these
No,
days,
I mean
right?
they put, like, sometimes the animals are fed rancid oil,
Yeah, yeah.
and so that index, if there's one test you could do to see, because it's going to tell you about, how good are your meals, how much, what effect is the meals having on you. It gives you an idea of what you can do with it, right? And then it's also going to tell you, how you're going to age, how much pain you're going to feel. Like it's one biomarker that will tell you a lot of things if you know what to do with the information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a perfect segue because it's really about our vitality long term. And inflammation is really the silent thief of vitality. A lot of doctors don't necessarily test for it or think that it's as big of a priority as it is, but it affects everything from our brain, our energy, our joints,
Yeah.
our heart health, cardiovascular score, gut microbiome, like the list goes on, including how we age, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So
And so when we think about this through the lens of like the American lifestyle and diet, 90% of Americans have, as you said, that low level omega-3, which is fueling a lot of their symptoms, and yet we don't start with them.
no, we don't. You're talking about, like, so inflammation, like acute inflammation is necessary, right? It's what, if you get sick, if you get a cut, it's the body's repair mechanism. It's chronic systemic inflammation that we don't really want. So if you look at, when I train in functional medicine, the root cause of almost all chronic diseases, whether it's heart disease, whether it's hypertension, whether it's strokes, cancer, degenerative neurological disorders, it's driven by chronic inflammation, right? And chronic inflammation has a profound effect on the body. And it comes from a few different categories that we can measure. So when I work with people, the like you said, a lot of doctors, we are trained to just look at CRP or ESR, right? And then they go, it's either, if it's high, they go, you have inflammation, and they may look into why. But if it's normal, they go, you're good, okay? And I remember this time when I was working in the ER in Liverpool, and I don't know who ordered it. Somebody ordered it before I saw the patient, but they had a CRP done. And this was a young guy who came in, was using drugs, and he had a huge abscess in his arm. It was red, infected. He had a fever. I remember this guy like right now. And his CRP was normal.
No way.
CRP was normal. And I asked my boss, and I said, how on earth could that guy's CRP be normal? And he was sick for, like, it wasn't just a day. He'd been like sick for like 5-6 days. And my boss goes, don't know. Doesn't matter. He's, clearly he's inflamed.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, and I remember he was admitted to hospital. He had it drained and stuff. And I watched, the CRP was normal, never climbed.
Wow.
And so I looked into this, and CRP is a surrogate marker for interleukin 6. But effectively, just like kids, like some kids, when they get sick, ear infection, sore throat, or whatever, they spike a massive fever. Other kids don't spike a fever. They just become really quiet. They go, my ear hurts, but they no fever, right? And it's an immune response that I personally feel is got a heavy genetic bias to it, right? So some people mount fever, some people mount interleukin 6 response, and so the CRP is high. So after that, I realized I can't just depend on this. So when I look at the blood markers, I look at CRP, I look at homocysteine, I look at albumin, I look at ferritin, I look at neutrophil-lymphocyte. I look at 6, 7 markers to not miss systemic
Right.
inflammation.
Right.
Yeah, and omega-3s are an extension of that. Yeah.
Are doctors trained on how to look at all of those biomarkers to assess the source of inflammation or inflammation that could be onset? As you said, you were watching this person for a few days,
Yeah,
right?
they're taught. We're taught, the basics. An elevated CRP is a sign of chronic inflammation, right? An elevated ESR is a sign of chronic inflammation. If someone comes in and you think the joint is infected, orthopedists will often ask for those markers, and if it's not elevated, they are more inclined to say, well, maybe it's not an infection; it's more likely to be like all those things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's limiting. And when you work at the level I'm working for, I cannot afford to miss anything. And so when I really dug in and found out, like, there are all these biomarkers that change for inflammatory response, for oxidative stress, for insulin resistance, that they never taught me this in medical school. This was all subsequently. So
It just reinforces the idea that the future of healthcare has to be about personalization.
yes,
It really does, right?
100%.
So let's then, for our listeners, because I think we hear about these words inflammation, they're understanding omega-3 benefits. What's happening in the body for people who have an elevated inflammatory 6 response or too many omega-6? They don't have that beautiful 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay. So think of it as like a fire. Okay. Your fire can be burning hot, okay, in which case it'll combust and everything will be gone. Or you can have this slow burning, okay, and it eats away at your vitality. Great word that you used, right? And oftentimes that's not an obvious symptom, and it's silent, but it's there when you look at it. And so people will say, I just feel off. My energy level's not there. I'm kind of achy. Like when I wake up in the morning, I feel a little bit more achier than normal. My brain is not as sharp. My hair isn't as shiny, or I'm losing hair. You know, People, you may notice like something's just not. You don't look your normal self. Their mood can be affected. So it's this the because it's not like someone coming and saying this hurts, right?
Right.
It's often missed and so it's silent. So it's a whole variety of symptoms. So in athletes, for instance, you'll see that their power output could drop. Their recovery numbers may not be great. They go to bed tired, they wake up tired. Their sleep is not great. So those are all the things and what happens is, I've just mentioned to you every
So many
organ, like so
symptoms.
many symptoms
Yeah.
affecting multiple organs, right?
Yeah.
And those are what I call, they're not disease state, they're dysfunction. So many times we think we go from, healthy to disease. And that's true if you get hit by a car, if you have appendicitis, you get bitten by a snake or whatever, right? Most of the time you go through a stage called dysfunction. And dysfunction is like that. It's silent. You may not know. So you don't go from, best example is like you don't go from disease to diabetes. Most of the time, unless you're type 1. Most of the time you go disease, pre-diabetic, and then diabetes.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So the dysfunction state is when you have to ask those questions. So again, this comes back to time. You have to ask the patients all these questions to see and say, you know what? Sounds to me like you have a significant amount of inflammation in your body. And then if you don't address it, you're going to run into problems where one day you're going to wake up and all of a sudden your doctor says, you have lupus. Or they come up and go, you're showing signs of early onset dementia. But it was there
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
along.
A lot of people ignore the symptoms, right? Our
Yeah.
body's
Yeah.
constantly
And we
communicating with
go, oh, you're just
us.
aging.
Yeah.
I think I'm just getting old.
Even the word inflame, though. Oh, I'm inflamed. A lot of
Yeah.
my clients will say, I'm inflamed. Well, what does that mean to you? What
Yeah.
does inflammation feel like to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at it through, like, if only we could get that acute feeling from our gut or from our liver before it was too late,
Yeah.
that inflammation stemming from these important organs within
Mm-hmm.
us that are driving the entire
Yeah.
function
The
of our
gut
body,
specifically.
especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically. Like that's one. So if I see a CRP that's elevated, the first place I look for is in the mouth.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to
Good
see the
point.
gums. I want to see the teeth. I want to see the tongue. And if that's all normal, I'm looking at the gut.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's a great call out. So, if you're somebody who is suspicious of gut health issues, start with your mouth. That's what an Eastern medicine doctor would do, anyways. They would look at
Oh,
your tongue,
yeah.
look at your gums, look at your oral health before they get to
Oh
the
my
other
God.
end.
I have experienced a Chinese doctor who looked at the tongue and made these comments, and I'm like, no, no way you can tell all of that from the tongue. And he was spot on. The
Yeah.
blood markers were correct. The patient's history was correct, and even the patient was like, yeah, I have all
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah. And the eyes too.
The
Hey,
eyes, yeah,
I remember being in Kerala and somebody looking at my mouth, my tongue, my eyes, and then
nails,
my pulse points,
yeah,
and literally came up with a full protocol for me to follow based
yeah,
on my
yeah.
symptoms.
See,
Yeah.
with that, but again, like we are not taught that, but
Yep.
that takes time, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. That's
when
a
was the last
wisdom.
time you went to a doctor's office and they looked
Yeah.
in your eye?
Oh, yeah. Not at all. No. Yeah. Okay. So for listeners, how often should somebody be looking at biomarkers for omega-3s, omega-6s?
Omega-3 specifically every 3 to 4 months,
Okay.
because you're measuring the omegas on the red blood cell, which
Yeah.
has a
Yeah.
lifespan of about 90 days, right? So if you get one done now and you implement changes, or you don't do anything, you want to see it again, you got to wait for the red blood cells to replenish.
Yeah.
So wait 3 months and then get it done.
Great.
And nowadays it's a fingerprint.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, supplementing I think is really important, but don't take our word for it. Like, understand what you need, and that's going to help with dosing and understanding.
Yeah. And again, like you said, like personalized healthcare, right? Like,
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me that we are all taking the same dosage on the bottle.
Oh, yeah.
2 capsules for everybody. Like,
Exactly.
what?
Yeah.
No, this
When your scores are completely
doesn't make
different,
sense. Yeah.
your lifestyle is completely different.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you taking a fish oil. I've worked with a lot of vegans who will go with a vegan supplement. There's also krill oil.
Yeah, krill oil, yeah.
Is there one that you prefer or the other? Is there something specific that you're looking at?
No.
Outside of-
I'm literally looking at the DHA
Yeah.
and the EPA levels, and I want to know the dose.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, like it has to be clean, right? So I want a brand that's been third-party tested. Okay, the source per se doesn't matter to me, as
Interesting.
long as you have the levels.
Right.
Because
Okay.
EPA and DHA, like as long as you have the levels, and then I have to me personally, if I have a blood test, I can calculate and say, Mona, you need to take 4 grams for your index to be here, not just 2 in the two or
Yeah.
3 capsules, right? That's the most important thing. But yeah, as long as the EPA and DHA dosing is correct, yeah, that's all you need to focus on.
Any topics that tend to trend, we tend to see a variety, an abundance of those supplements being made, whether it's the creatine
Yeah.
or omega-3.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, just be cautious of where you're getting it from. If
Yes.
you're getting it from a CVS,
Yeah,
chances
no.
are you're going to have really expensive pee. Look for
Yes.
something that's
And also, like, no, more than that, Mona. With fish oil, it can turn bad.
right, rancid oils.
When it turns rancid, it is so harmful for you. Now you are like totally messing your body up, right? So make sure the sauce is good. Make sure it has a long expiry date, meaning it's the freshest batch.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure it's stored correctly. It's not exposed to it's an oil. You don't want to expose it to heat,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And all of those things are very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep my fish oil in the fridge, actually.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's just transition now into biomarkers and testing. And when we think about this, what I love about what you say is you can't optimize what you don't measure.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, especially this is what I love about modern day medicine, the fact that we do have this incredible science that allows us to measure what's happening inside our body. So you don't have to go on trends, you can actually customize. Yet people often they don't rely on how they feel. We were talking about using wearables, for example. You could feel like you had an amazing night's sleep. The second you see the result on the wearable, you're like, oh shit, I had a bad night's sleep. Ugh. And that dictates how your day is going.
Yeah.
They're not tuning into the fact that their biology is teaching them what they need to pay attention to, right? So when we think about this through the lens of our metabolism, for example, 12% of US adults are metabolically healthy, and high sensitivity CRP levels, as you mentioned, above 3 milligrams per deciliter, double the risk of cardiovascular disease, right? So for things like that, when we know that these diseases are on the rise, I think it's really important for people to want to take ownership so that they don't become part of the statistics. So let's break that down into what really matters. For somebody that's new to testing, where do you say that they should start?
Okay. Great question. And I want to address, especially with men, they are afraid.
Yes.
They don't want to know.
No. Who wants to go on a protocol?
No, they don't want to know. They don't want to, I cannot tell you the number of times wives will bring a patient to the ER, or, an athlete will come and see me and they'll be like, dude, can you just run my test? My wife's driving me nuts, and I'm like, why didn't you want to know? And they're like, I feel fine, right?
Yeah.
So feeling fine is a very average goal, right?
Yeah.
So you could feel fine with a lot of systemic inflammation going on. Could feel fine with the omegas being off until you don't.
You could feel fine with a clogged artery,
Correct.
right?
Correct. You could have a 80% blockage in your coronary arteries and feel fine until you don't.
Right.
Right. So nowadays, as a basic measure, like when you ask me for a blood test, right? I would get a complete blood count.
Right.
I'll get a metabolic profile, which looks at your liver, thyroid, okay, liver, kidneys. I'll get a thyroid profile, not just the TSH. That's not enough. You need to get
T3,
T3,
T4.
really important. Okay, I will get a vitamin D level, because vitamin D, it should be a hormone.
Yeah.
It affects so many different things, and for whatever reasons, it's a whole podcast in its own right.
Yeah, it is.
We are running low on vitamin D.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to point out here, cholesterol is what you need to make vitamin D.
Hormone health is trending.
Yes.
It's what you need to optimize your
The
hormones.
basic block for estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone,
Is
cholesterol.
vitamin D.
There's a reason why we have it, right? So so I would do that, and then come back. I would do a lipid profile. Okay. And I would stop there. That's a very CRP.
CRP.
Okay, I would start there. If you have money, I would add an omega-3 index. Not every doctor is going to offer that. So you want to find a functional medicine doctor or naturopath. Nowadays, a lot of places online offer it. Okay. The thing is, it is like what I was explaining to you, you will get the results. And you don't want someone who looks at it and just, because what happens is when you get, as a doctor, I get the results, right? All the levels that are out of range are flagged up. Okay. So then, because of time, I just look at all the ones that are flagged up and I'll say, oh, you need vitamin D. You probably need 5,000 units. Kidney, what else was low? Oh, this was low. And I just address that, right? That's not what you want. You want someone, first of all, to appreciate the ranges. So for instance, and it's well out there, a lot of people have discussed this, the current range for blood sugar, fasting blood sugar,
Right.
is up to 99.
Insane. It's like it's okay to be borderline pre-diabetic.
How are you 99? That's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I have my own reference ranges. So I want to look at everything in my own reference range. B, I want to see patterns, right? So if the CRP is high, what is the lipids doing? If the blood sugar is high, what is the ratio between the blood sugar and the triglycerides? Because that's going to tell me whether you have insulin resistance or not, even if your insulin levels are normal.
Right. Good point.
Right. So it's looking at things like that. It's looking at, if your hemoglobin is normal, but your MCV is high or low, then you know it's iron or B12. So it's getting those results and then interpreting that results correctly.
Yeah.
That's really important. So when people are spending the money, I want to make sure they understand, like, get someone who's going to sit down and go through this with you. Not just say everything was fine.
Absolutely.
Everything was normal because it fell in the normal range. No.
Where do you like to see vitamin D?
I'd like to be between 45 and 55.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm usually 50 to 60 is what I say.
Up to 60, yeah.
Yeah,
It has a Goldilocks effect.
Okay.
So we learned this during COVID. If you go super high, that's not good either.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Super low, obviously an issue. So you want to be up to 60 is good. Yeah.
Love it. Let's hover on a second, going back to those big disorders in the US. You and I come from a South Asian descent. We're talking about cholesterol and having a cholesterol
And
panel that
diabetes.
for me and diabetes is not necessarily optimal for me, but it's something that I keep my eye on in relation to all my other biomarkers.
Yeah.
And knowing that in the US, especially since like a lot of heart attacks and strokes, they're preventable. What should they be proactively looking for on that cardiovascular panel?
Okay, great question. I would start with so CRP is very useful, hs-CRP, right? And I stick to what I said. If you have elevated hs-CRP, make sure your doctor looks at your gums and your teeth. We do know that elevated hs-CRP is correlated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes.
Yeah.
Okay. But what a lot of people don't make the connection is gum disease also puts you at equal risk of heart disease because the lining of your gum is made out of the same cell lining of the arteries. Okay. So inflammation here is inflammation here.
Right.
And so that becomes a tell. So hs-CRP is one way to look at it. Then, there's a lot of talk about lipids, right? I will only look at, I look at lipids in conjunction to fasting blood sugar and hemoglobin. Okay? Because I want to know so let's say your total cholesterol comes back as high. And let's say the total cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, is elevated, right? If you have risk factors, there then becomes a question of should you put you on statins, not put you on statins. It's not accurate. That is only telling you part of the story. Cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, you want to know, it exists in 3 different sizes. So one's like a big basketball size, one is like a tennis ball size, and the other one's like a marble. Okay? The big basketball size is going to bounce off the walls, doesn't do any harm. So if your cholesterol is made up mostly of those, it's not bad. You don't run the risk, really. But if it's made out of the small marble ones that's going to hit the wall, dent it, and then the body repairs it with a plaque,
right,
you have an issue. So if your LDL is high, I want to know the particle size. And then I want to know how many of these particles you have. So if the particle number, that's the measure. So you want the particle number and particle size. If the particle number is high and the particle size is small, you have an issue.
A lot of doctors aren't checking particle sizes.
No.
No.
And even if your cholesterol is normal, studies have now shown that you need to know these numbers because independently, let's say your cholesterol is 100, because we made up this number of 200, right? Let's say it's 180. On the panel, it's going to say normal, and the doctor is going to say cholesterol is normal.
Yeah.
You need to know your particle size and particle number. And if the particle size is small and the number is high, you have a risk.
Okay. Are you looking at triglycerides? Is that a big detector?
Yes.
Yeah.
So triglycerides is more for metabolic disease. It's going to see, what's your risk factor for fatty liver, central obesity, which then puts you also at risk of heart disease, right? Triglycerides are, especially in genetically, you can run very high triglycerides, but also processed foods, alcohol will definitely put your triglycerides up. It's one of those that is easier to clean up overall.
And are you a fan with some of the athletes that you work on for statins? Do you think there's a time and a place?
Is there a time and place? Yes. Am I a fan for my athletes? No. No. Because statins, yes, the work on statins have shown, the muscle damage, right?
Yeah.
That's not my biggest issue.
Right.
Statins compete with the production of CoQ10.
Right. Which defeats it's heart health, right? Yeah.
CoQ10 is an essential ingredient that the mitochondria need to create energy. Okay? So you end up, your cholesterol is high, but now if I put you on statin, I don't replace your CoQ10,
Right.
you're in trouble because your mitochondria will run out of fuel to create energy, which is really going to affect an athlete. Endurance athlete, like how are you going to compete?
With a proper mitochondrial function.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I usually, and this is for listeners too, if you have been given a diagnosis or a doctor who recommends a statin, I'll typically work with my clients and ask the doctor, give me 6 months.
Yeah.
Give me 6 months. Let us really optimize a program for them. And I would say 99% of the time, I'm able to help reverse those numbers so that the prescription goes away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And again, like you said, is that if you came up and your cholesterol is 400,
Yeah.
like now's not the time to argue about this, right? Like I always say this, right? Like, a lot of people, bash, like medical doctors and allopathic medicine. No, there's a time and place for it. If your appendix is inflamed, you need to see a surgeon, dude.
Yeah.
If you have pneumonia, you need antibiotics, right? Like that's not, you need that support. So in the acute setting like that, 100%.
Yeah.
But again, work with them, get the details, particle size, particle number, and then work with you to bring it down because they can be reversed.
Such a good takeaway because I know a lot of people out there are on statins. So it's not to say that there's fear around that now, but supplement wisely to make up for the further deficiency that a prescription med could be causing you.
Yeah, and again, if you're on statins, make sure you're on 200 milligrams of CoQ10.
Beautiful. Okay.
Please.
Yep.
Important.
Thank you.
Yep.
You said something really great when you were looking at biomarkers for your athletes to give you indication on how they're training and how they're recovering and really understanding it's like this physical body is a vessel that's like a car and you want to see it work, right?
The dashboard, yeah.
The dashboard, yeah. So for your athletes, all of us want excellence. We all want optimism. I think a lot of us are really turned on by what it means to be an athlete and how they train.
If only they knew. If only they knew.
So athletes aren't, they're not remiss from autoimmune disease or cardiovascular disorders or any of these things.
No.
But it makes them kind of, lock into optimizing the vessel even more, right?
Yep.
So let's put the flip side of the lens. We're talking about the things that are inflammatory. What are the biomarkers that you're looking at that quietly kind of predicts their recovery or their body being in balance? Like what are some things that you're looking for?
Great question. So I look at a few things. So specifically, right, I'm trying to quote Steve Jobs, see around the corners.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, I asked Ray Allen this, the basketball guy. I said, there's one thing that you must do to get in the Hall of Fame. What would it be? And like he paused for a while and then he said, availability. Okay. So you must be able to compete, which means you can't be injured, you can't be sick. Sickness and injuries, like in sports, sometimes when you push it so hard, it pushes back, you can see it. But for most part, I'm trying to make sure they don't get injured and they don't get sick. Okay. Especially with all the flights, all the training and all this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to see around the corners. On a CBC, again, they didn't teach me this in medical school, but NASA did. On the CBC, complete blood count that you get on your annual blood test, right? There are two numbers. There are a whole bunch. It's a breakdown. The differential is a whole bunch of breakdown. There's a thing called absolute neutrophil and absolute lymphocyte.
Yeah.
And that's a ratio that I look at. And what they've shown is that if the ratio is about 3 neutrophils to 1 lymphocyte, you're good.
Okay.
Okay. You have plenty of space and resilience in the immune system. Okay. As you get fatigued and stressed, the ratio starts getting smaller. So if an athlete's ratio is like 1 to 1, 1.5 to 1, I may talk to them about either getting more sleep, supplements to support, whatever they need, looking at their travel schedule, looking at their training schedule, because it's showing me signs like your system is under stress. If they get reversed, in fact, I had one athlete he came to me because he said, I've had flu twice in one season. And I'm like, okay. And he was actually reversed.
Interesting.
And there's also like certain Asian subgroups can do that.
Yeah.
And it's also cyclical. Sometimes in certain times of the year, it starts shifting. So that's a very simple biomarker, a CBC, that even if you didn't go to like you bought it online, it's like $30. That can tell you a lot. Okay, that's just one ratio. Okay,
Yeah.
that shows me how much capacity I can look at that and say, go really hard, or I can say, you know what, back off. Right. The other one is looking at cortisol, morning cortisol, with the DHEA. Or if you don't have a DHEA, you can get the testosterone, the total testosterone. Cortisol is a stress response, okay? A stress hormone. Think of it as catabolic. It's there to break stuff down. It's there to mobilize sugar, right? Think of people with disease with cortisol, Cushing's, they have no muscle mass, so it's catabolic. DHEA is more anabolic. So is testosterone. It's released from the growth hormone pathway and like it's showing that you're building. That ratio is also what I look at. So I don't look at the absolute numbers. I look at them sometimes, but I'm always looking at the pattern. So if you're looking at the pattern, now you're looking at a hormone that is stress versus recovery, and I want to see where they are. Now, again, Mona, sometimes let's say that they are in a heavy training block,
Right.
like this time of the year, like this part of the year, most tournaments are over, players are doing 2 a-days, they're training super hard. I want to see the ratio being off a bit, because if it's all about recovery, they're not going to adapt.
Absolutely.
I need some friction in the system. So the CRP could be high and I'll let it run high. But then when they're recovering, I want to see the ratio correcting. So those are the biomarkers I would look at.
No one's ever brought that up before.
Really?
We're looking at these scores, let's call them, in kind of like their individual approach. And cortisol has been all the buzz right now, right?
Yeah.
But we don't think about it in respect of like, oh, is the catabolic aspect on the body long term and measuring it that way, right? Which
Yeah.
is
Because
key.
if you just look at it on its own,
Yeah.
you're only getting half the story.
We were taught in nutrition school when we're looking at elevation in neutrophils, we're tracking that over time. That's an option for us to just like detect systemic inflammation in order to where to go to look for. For that person, then I would do things like food sensitivity testing or food allergy testing, or looking at their environment to see what they're exposed to that could be causing that inflammation also to the neutrophils. But that ratio of 3-to-1 is fascinating as well in terms
Yeah,
of
that
recovery.
was actually NASA was the first place, like when I was looking at the literature, they were looking at that as a predictor of whether or not an astronaut would get sick.
Wow, fascinating. God, the
Yeah,
body is
and
so cool.
your risk for viral infection goes up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. CBC, cortisol, DHA, precursor for testosterone. Look at all of these things
Yeah.
in your labs as well. That's great. So the in-depth of testing, and when we think about performance, we're talking about these imbalances to the body. I just think it's important that you look at brands that are leading the way in understanding the functionality of the body. And everything that you've talked about so far, it's that interconnectedness of everything that you have an eye that looks for all of that. Because I know with your background starting in ER, you're a detective. Like you have to figure out what the source of
Yes.
everything is, so you
Yeah.
know where to
It's a
begin, what's
puzzle.
happening.
You have to fix the puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Western world, and especially right now with health and wellness booming and the rise of, the supplement trend industry and like the amount of supplements that are out there, there's not a lot of brands that are doing that. So maybe we'll take it as an opportunity to shout out IM8, and the reason you're on the board for that reason is to really understand the synergistic approach within the body and how supplementation can benefit somebody, and also going for like the top certification so that you know that it's safe for physical performance, right?
Yeah.
I
So
think that's important.
I sat on the advisory board, and I had a few conditions. One of which was like, if I find a better product, I should be able to talk about it and give that to my athletes, because I owe it to my athletes, right? Like that's my responsibility as their doctor. Always give you what I think is the best, right? And they were the fact that they said yes, completely fine, because
Yeah.
it's on us, spoke volumes about them. And what I like with the formulation is some of it is a supplement, right, to your diet. Some of it is a complement,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So I love the fact that they have adaptogens. I love the fact that they have mushrooms and
Enzymes. Yeah.
enzymes. Like they put the whole package together really well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love it. Okay, shout out to IMA. For those of you who don't know, it's a daily multivitamin that you can take that tastes amazing. I actually had to try it for 3 months before I said that I would recommend it to others, and they were like, "Of course,
Yeah,
makes
so
sense."
same here.
Yeah.
I met the CEO, and normally when I meet supplement companies, there's the formulator, the scientist, and it wasn't. It was just CEO,
Yeah.
and Danny knew the product inside out. So I was like, wow, I've never seen this.
Yeah.
So I said, all right. So I stopped everything I was taking, and I did my blood test before. I took it. I did the blood test after. I was fairly impressed, and I was like, okay, you know what?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Bioavailable. All right, let's go back to something really fascinating that you speak about, the difference between movement and exercise.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So even as
Favorite topic.
here we are. We know about the benefits of exercise. Maybe our listeners are somebody who's already, working out for 30 minutes or an hour, maybe 5 times a week. But we're sitting for an average of 10 to 12 hours a day. And that sedentary lifestyle, sitting every day at our offices on the computer, increases our rates of mortality,
Yeah.
right? 20% or higher, right?
Yeah.
So when we think about your experience, and I'm excited for you to share this story with the hunter and gatherer group, one of the few that remains, the Hasda tribe,
Yeah.
living with them, they're not tracking their steps. They're not lifting their body weight in
Not
weight
doing
or
grip strength,
doing
the
grip
farmer
strength.
carries.
Yeah. Or hit training every single
No.
day. They're not setting up, Peloton bikes and
No.
treadmills or any of that.
No.
They're moving naturally throughout the day.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the wisdom that comes through movement instead of exercise, and maybe how we're missing the boat when we're understanding how this vessel
Yeah.
needs to work.
It probably the most eye-opening education I've ever had. And I've got so many
You have a
names.
lot.
I have a lot. Yeah, I've studied my whole life, right? But when I went to them, it was the time when I went from seeing movement as, performance and blah, 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 to just how simply beautiful and it is part of who we are and our expression, And these people were amazing. They embodied all the principles: speed, power, strength, endurance, agility, everything. Okay. And they were people that just moved the body the way it was meant to move. So I went there twice. One was during the summer months, and one was during the winter months in Tanzania, the cooler months, right? So in the cooler month, I had to live with them. So I could only drink water. Like everything else, I had to eat with them and like sleep under the stars and everything. It was crazy. And we went hunting like local places, and when we walk for a distance or whatever, they like one time, there was bees flying, and the chief just stopped, and then he pointed to a tree, and one of his guys just climbed up this tree, just started climbing up a tree, gets a knife and chops the bark. Like think about it, he's gripping with one hand, chopping the bark. Bees start flying everywhere, and like pushes the bee away. Like he's not scared, like he's
Yeah.
pushing the bees away, and like grabs the honey, comes down, and then we all have the honey. Okay. And I was like, effortless, not out of breath, didn't come up, didn't do a warm up,
Yeah.
none of that, right? So I'm like, wow, okay. And then we hunted for 2 days. We didn't catch anything. So the third day, and again, like we wake up with sunrise, and the chief's up, and everyone gets together, get the dogs, and boom, we go. There's no pre-workout, there's no warm-up, there's no coffee before I go.
The prerequisites.
None, didn't wear my Lululemon.
Right.
None of that. Okay? And off we went. And so we must have walked for about, I don't know, 2 hours or something. And would like every now and again he'll hear something, we'll run into the bush, and a lot of it was just walking, and then you'll sprint into a bush or come out or whatever, right? And so at this point I said, we had an interpreter, so I was like, how much further are we going? Because we have to go 2 hours back. And he's like, he asked him, and the chief was like, no, we're going to the far end, because that's where we're going to find it. So anyway, we went, and eventually they tracked a wild boar. It turned out to be a wild boar. They tracked this animal, and it was the craziest thing. Like normally, when I've had my friends hunt, whether it's deer or pigs or whatever, like they always tell that the wild boar will charge at you. You need to be careful. This pig was running away from them. This pig was running away from them, and it was I was like, and I mean, you're going into bushes where there are thorns about this big, and these guys are not wearing glasses, they don't have shades, like nothing. They're just pushing it, like everything's just in the way of them achieving what they need to do. They don't stop and think, oh, I might get stabbed. Like they have if they didn't get that done, the tribe will not have food. That's their motivation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it's going at frantic space because they're running in here and then you're coming out, and then like they're listening, and then they're using all their senses, and then they're running into somewhere else, and then they're pulling stuff, and at one point I see this big boar just run into a bush, and 3 guys are running with it, like chasing it. And one of the guys, if you ever want to be emasculated, just go with the Hatha tribe. He gives me I'm standing here going, what is going on? And he gives me a rock about this big, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this rock? And so he gestures that, like, basically the pig comes running back, like, hit it with the rock. Gosh. And I'm like, you have lost your mind. If the pig comes back, like, I'm like, please go ahead. You seem to be in a rush. Please carry on. Anyway, they go in there and they hunt the pig. They kill the pig. They drag it out. Like, they're dragging it out of the bush. That's so much work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then they celebrate. They make a fire. So they make a fire. When you see the effort it takes to make a fire.
Oh yeah.
That's everything. Deal. Coordination, strength. They're using the core. Yeah. They're sitting on the ground.
The breath.
They make a fire. They singe off the hair. They gather all the leaves. They put the pig there. They make a fire. They singe off all the hair. Then they quarter it. We eat a little bit there. Now, I have a photo of it on my phone. I get like one of the legs. My job was like carry one of the legs back. It's about 30 pounds.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's 22 miles back.
Oh my.
So I'm walking like this and I'm going, oh God. Then I'm like this. Then I'm like swapping this side. And I'm like this. And they start laughing at me because the guy was just carrying it like this and just walking. Like, he's smaller than me.
Right. He's strong.
No six pack, no, shoulders were like, not thinking about, am I activating my lats, and just carrying that and walking, And the function of the body was at full visibility to me. And I was like, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing?
Yeah.
We put all this emphasis when survival is necessary at its primal state. The human body can do amazing stuff with movement. Absolutely. It is designed to move.
Do you know what the hardest workout is that I've done this year?
No.
Going to a playground with my kids.
Oh, really? You tell me.
I compare that to working out at a gym, doing a class, from climbing the bars to ducking down to running up the slide to sprinting to catch them.
Yes.
It's wild. And so now I'm really excited when I'm working with people, the functional movements of the body and how we were meant to move.
Correct.
Because what I see a lot, and I used to work with a lot of NHL players or these athletes that could lift heavy or were training in the gym to lift heavy,
Mhm.
their range of motion was like stunted. Like they could not lift their hands up into the sky. And then I see how they age, and we see a lot of people who
Age.
might have,
Yeah.
exactly, they're hunched over,
Yeah.
they've got a lot of muscle, but there's no mobility or movement.
Yeah.
That does not look like grace and ease when I think
No.
of vitality.
No. And you know, coming back, like, so again, like my mom, it's a prime example, right? I remember I was in England. I was still in England at that time. I went back to visit her one time, and at this time I was like a big gym rat.
Yeah.
Okay, knew about macros, knew about all sorts of stuff, and I went back home, and my mom she grows all her vegetables in the backyard. Okay,
Beautiful.
so I go home one morning and she's there, like she's bent over, she's chopping some stuff with a knife, and she puts all whatever. And then I said, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just getting some food for later." And she's like, "Hey," she goes, "Pull out the tapioca for me." And I did that as a kid, so I remember like you have to clean up the dirt,
Yeah.
like loosen it up, and then yank the tree and stuff. So my mom was like, told me to do it. I was going to get ready to yank the tree, and she's like, "Clear the dirt first." And I'm like, "I'm good, I'm strong." And I yank it, it does not budge. It does not budge, right? So my mom starts laughing. So I'm like, "Let me clear the dirt." And my mom goes, "Here, come here." And then she just like, she shakes it, she kicks the dirt with her feet, and she just yanks it, and it comes out.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, the body is meant to move. Like, so now coming back to that, like after, so when I tell this story, people say, "But we're not the heart attack. We have desk jobs. We drive in LA traffic. Like, I have to sit." Okay. So in order to counter that, I need to go get my workout in. Okay. Great. But put in all those 5 components: speed,
Absolutely.
power, strength, endurance, agility, either together or at least 2 in every workout you do. Then use movement as an art form, as an expression, right? Like even if you were doing a pull-up, think of it as a dance move. Pull up in certain directions and move your body in one way and come down the other. Like you see those street dancers,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
calisthenic guys.
Oh my.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So this year, for instance, I started training with a calisthenic coach.
Beautiful.
And for 2 reasons. One is I looked at the longevity stuff, and they said, you need to make sure you're strong, because if you fall, that's it. You're going to break your hip and then you're going to die, right? Fear-based. And I was like, okay, why don't I learn to fall? That way I won't.
You want to hurt
That's
yourself.
what martial arts do. Like
Yeah.
in boxing, they teach you to take a punch.
Yeah.
Formula One, they teach you to crash a car. So I was like, why don't I just learn to fall? Prevention. So even if I do fall, I'm not going to get hurt, right? So like in calisthenics, gymnastics, you tumble, you learn to fall. And the first time I did it, I tumbled and it came up, everything was spinning. Like, wow. Now, falling down and tumbling, no issue at all. I did a backflip for the first time last week.
Wow.
And again, I've gone away. I still do workouts. I still do lifts. Like you need to do certain things like deadlifts and stuff like that. Like there are certain movements that you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you just did a bicep curl, that does not mimic life.
Yeah.
Try to turn that movement, like get really present and make it a art form and say, how can I turn a bicep curl into something really art form? Now, not everybody in the gym, you might get the looks. So what?
So what? I'm so happy you told that story. And I wanted you to tell the story just to maybe awaken the idea that for our listeners, the way that they're thinking about strength training and movement and aging well could actually be a little bit different than what we're being told on the media and society, right? And I'm with you. I love working out. I love being on the gym. I love running. I love being on the treadmill. I love doing all these things. But when I look at, for example, my background in yoga, we knew everything was connected, right? We're doing a pose with our arms, and yet our mind is down on our toes and how we're rooting down into the ground, right? So I incorporate a lot of that in how I strength train.
Amazing.
Yeah, but I think about if we all want to age well, going back to that concept of fear-based, I'm not focusing on, my genetics that tell me I have a strong predisposition for heart attack and stroke and autoimmune and all of
Yeah.
these things. I instead coach my clients in having a clear visualization and feeling how you want to feel when you're 100 or 105
Oh
or
my God.
110. And for me, I'm at the top of a mountain with a grandkid on my back with my strength and my posture and my mental acuity.
Yeah.
And so for that, I think, well, how do I need to move now in order to become that person?
Mona, that's so brilliant.
Oh, I love that.
That
Well, you
is
know where I
so
got that
brilliant.
from? From working with athletes.
Yeah.
The athletes that I used to work with, we would always talk about them visualizing the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Visualizing the shot, visualizing the success. And I'm like, well, why don't we put that through the lens of health?
Yeah.
And how beautiful that feels. For that, I'm way more inspired to go to the gym if I'm focused on that versus what's going to happen or the number on the scale or me not fitting a certain pair of pants
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
I think that that's key. And you telling that story based on what you do as your profession, but this beautiful reflection of living with the tribe that we seek after, they're sought after for so many things, right? Including their digestion and as a means for
Yeah.
prevention.
And I also want to give a shout out to them, the women in the tribe.
Mhm.
So when the men go hunting,
Yeah,
they would go and find tubers and dig and carry all of that back. So
absolutely.
the tribe as a
Yes.
whole
Yeah.
uses movement, their hands, their feet. And again, I want to hit another thing. When we talk about microbiome, it's immediately reduced down to gut
Gut.
flora.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's oral biome, that's skin biome, and I'm not. I have not seen the science for this, nor can I prove it. But if we have seen signs that the mitochondria communicates with the gut microbiome because they're both bacteria, right? If that's true, the skin microbiome must be communicating with the gut microbiome. The gut microbiome must be communicating with they all communicate, all the different types
Absolutely.
of microbiome. So when we think about microbiome and we eat, probiotics, okay, that's just addressing the gut microbiome. You can influence the gut microbiome through your skin.
Yes.
So when you look at the Hadza, they are going through bushes, climbing on rocks, climbing on trees. They are getting microbiome from everywhere. No wonder their gut microbiome is the most diverse of anyone we've studied.
Yeah. So resilient.
Because they're getting it from they live with the environment. They're not
Yeah.
against the environment, they live with the environment, right? So the tree out there has microbiome on it. And that microbiome is going to influence your skin microbiome. Your skin
Yeah.
microbiome is going to. So I see all of that, a lot of that.
Yeah, and let's put it through the lens of just like look at what you're exposed to, right?
Yeah.
So you're making me think of something really cool, which I've never thought of before. I love talking to you. Okay, so one of my takeaways for my clients when everyone's questioning what diet to be on, and
Yeah.
I have to get them, breaking them up with diet mindset, I'll often talk about the concept of eating like your ancestors did.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this. I
Like
love this.
right?
Love this.
So what if we added to that? What if we could move like our ancestors
Yes.
did? So South Asians, we spent a lot of time on the floor, pulling tubers. There's your grip
Squatting.
strength.
Yeah.
Squatting.
Exactly. See, they don't know what their grip strength is, but they can pull a tuber out of the ground.
You got it. Yeah. The Scandinavian side probably spent a lot of time in cold exposure, hunting, gathering,
Boats, being
boats.
unstable. Their core has to be
Absolutely.
engaged all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you have to break
See?
up with your 9 to 5 to perhaps go and do something like that.
But you can incorporate it in the gym.
You can incorporate it in the gym and how you move. Yeah. So, and even on your shirt, functional sports medicine, I think about functional
Yeah.
movements for the body, right?
Yeah.
It's aligning with your body instead of
Yeah.
working against it. That's
Yeah.
the entire point of telling the story
Yeah.
and the wisdom behind it. So, let's then, for the people who are listening who may be overtraining, who may be inflamed, what's a really simple way for them to start, resetting the body through the things that we're talking about right now?
Okay. Great. If you are truly overtrained, and by that, I want you to monitor a few things, okay? If you have a baseline heart rate that you know, and you see it start to go up, okay? That could be a sign that you're starting to overtrain. Overreaching first before overtraining. And then if your HRV, if you monitor HRV and the HRV goes opposite and starts trending downwards, you're more sympathetic, okay? If your fatigue level starts going up, you perceive. Be honest. Like you don't have to tell the number out, but inside yourself, like I'm more tired than normal. If you go to bed tired and you wake up tired, that is a big tell for me. Okay, those are signs of overtraining. And then your output, your speed, your strength, your numbers are the work it's taking to achieve the same numbers are off. You are likely to be overtrained. First thing, make sure you get your calories.
Eat food.
Eat food.
Yeah, eat real
Yes.
food. Don't be afraid of it.
Make sure you get your calories. Okay. Then make sure your micros are up to scratch. So, and this is the reason why I put all high performers on a multivitamin, multimineral, right? My reason is this. If you went keto and took out a whole major food group, you will feel it. But if you're running low on manganese, you won't feel it
Absolutely.
until it's down the line and an organ doesn't work. Like you run out of selenium and 6 months later your hair's falling off and someone, if you're fortunate, runs a thyroid panel and they go, my God, your thyroid's,
Yeah.
you're hypothyroid. And then they figure out it's low selenium. Like it's going to take you months.
Oh yeah, copper, zinc, all of these.
All the small, manganese, like all of those small stuff, right? So you can't afford to run low on that and be a high performer. So to address that, I say, you know what? Just take it. That way I know it's covered.
I love it.
So make sure, but with your calories, make sure your micros are being addressed. Most athletes are very good at macros. They forget the micros. So micros means getting it from at least 3 sources of vegetables, right? 3 colors if possible.
Absolutely.
Okay, at a bare minimum for me, right? Per sitting. Okay. Then make sure your sleep is regulated. Oftentimes you may need some help with your sleep. So I may cheat. I might say, you know what, take half a Benadryl. Even though it's a pharmaceutical, it's going to help you sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm okay with that for a short period of time. Okay. Use valerian root. I am such a big fan of valerian root teas. To me, it's like getting an anesthetic. Like, oh my God, I sleep so good. Like I just flew in from Orlando. Like I use it here.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Time change.
And so I get the sleep. So make sure the calories are good. Make sure they're getting enough micros. Make sure they sleep. Okay. Then I would look at either giving them some days off. And on the days off, change your workout routine. No high intensity stuff. Let's do some low intensity stuff. Barefoot walking, bear crawls, walk on the beach, like anything like that. Out in nature. Get out of the gym. Like go and do that.
Yeah.
Then the one that often people don't appreciate is athletes will often make the mistake of saying, I'm tired, I'm not recovered enough, I need to go and soak in the ice bath more. I need to use the sauna more. Well, no.
Hormetic stress.
It's hormetic stress. It's hormetic, meaning in small doses it's extremely beneficial, right? But when you're tired, your allostatic load, meaning all the other stresses have caught up to you. Adding that additional stress is not going to be beneficial. It's going to break you.
Yeah.
So it's that hormetic stress is no longer hormetic. It is a stress.
Yeah.
So I would tell them no sauna, no ice bath until we see your heart rate go up and your numbers go up and then you feel better and then we can introduce it again.
So you're speaking about your experience with athletes, but I think that applies to our listeners who are addicted to hypervigilance.
Yeah.
Right? In today's world, we tend to be addicted to that. And as we age, especially with how complicated we're making health and wellness, we think that we need to consistently hit these markers for movement and mindfulness and biohacking and supplementation and food. And it's like, it is so
endless.
much and overwhelming to the system as well. So, if you had a personal coach like Dr. Ara guiding you and saying, hey, you're overtraining, scale back just a little bit. Right.
Yeah, it's actually knowing what would I tell them? Okay, first of all, I would say, like, did you eat?
Yeah.
Did you eat?
Yeah.
And it's small things, Mona. Like if you are running and it's hot outside, right? Compared to a normal day, okay? Well, that day you burn more calories. And if you did that for 3 4 days, you're going to be calorie deficient if you ate the same amount. And you need to get that food somewhere. So making sure, like, did you get your calories, right? And then I would say, change your workout. Do something that you're not going to think about doing. Go for a dance class. Go do Pilates. Go do sound bath. Do something that's going to blow your mind, or do something that's going to change your mind and just put you in a different state. Because you're stuck in this trance, this mass hypnosis of, I need to get my steps in, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to get my, now there's a whole movement about, women needing to jump, need to do this, need to do that. And I'm like, you know, they just moved. Back in the day, look at a child.
Exactly. They
Just,
just
you lost the
moved.
joy of the whole movement. Like, do something that you think is joyful. Go to a Zumba class.
Yeah.
Do something. Like,
Yeah.
go to the playground and go do monkey bars. Go do the stuff that you did as a kid. Like, I would force you to do that.
Yeah, I'm concerned, especially now with women's health around strength training. There's a lot of big practitioners that are well known out there saying, stop wasting your time at the Pilates class. Don't go to yoga. It's like, if that's the one thing that takes you closer to your higher self or God, where you have moments of liberation and freedom and joy and fun.
Yeah.
Good God, that is part of your protocol.
Yes.
Do
And
not
again,
give that
like,
up.
why should it be one or the other?
Exactly.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you go to a real, like, I'm sure you could do this, Mona, as a really good, seasoned, experienced yoga teacher, you can make that workout really difficult.
Oh, yeah.
You can make that session. I have come out of yoga sessions going, I'd rather have lifted today.
Yeah.
Because that was brutal. My core is on fire, dude. And then the next day, my butt, my hammies are hurting, and I'm like, I feel like I sprinted for 3 hours
You
yesterday,
got
dude.
it. Yeah.
So why would you take that off? And again, like, there is a line in yoga that I so love, that should be in the line of every gym session, right? It's, whatever you have today is what you have today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just use that. Like, fundamentally, like, yesterday you could have done something. Yesterday I could have done the crow pose. But today I couldn't. It's okay. Don't try to, like, outdo yesterday. Like, today is where you are, and start here. Like, that's, to take that away and replace it with just, I'm not going to, if I only have 30 minutes, I'm going to lift.
Yeah.
Is that really true? Again, not popular advice right now.
Not at all.
And a lot of practitioners will be like, yeah, that's what you should do. I'm like, I don't think so.
I'm so with you. So, quick side story, and probably one of the most, through travel and experienced teachers who have wisdom, have given me so much knowledge and tools for my clients. So, I'll never forget, I was doing an Ashtanga yoga teacher training in Mysore, India.
Oh, wow.
And every day we had to show up at the same time. But some days, this teacher who was very just old school Ashtangi, okay? He called out one day, Mona, you're done. We're only 20 minutes into the class. Mona, you're done. Time for you to go. And my ego was like, what is wrong with you? I'm not done. I still wanted to stick around. Like, am I not good enough for you? But he recognized I was tired. I wasn't showing up to my practice. I wasn't coming into the wisdom of my body that day.
Wow.
He was recognizing that I needed to take time so that I could come back to my mat and honor my true self the following day. It's like, oh my gosh. And I thanked him. One of the greatest teachers I've ever had. So put that through whatever lens it is that you're trying to commit to every single day.
Yeah.
And tune in. Your body has the wisdom to tell you, right? Movement can be a prescription for you.
Yeah.
It can also be a restoration, right? Tell me if you agree that people should be looking at their DEXA scan.
Most people know.
Okay.
Nowadays, I do think that I do like the idea of getting a DEXA scan before you start your GLPs.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay.
Right.
Because I want to see how much of the weight loss is muscle and fat. Like, it's really important, because what we're seeing is we're losing a lot of muscle, right? And there are interventions for that. So increasing protein intake, doing resistance exercise, drinking aminos may combat some of that. Okay. But if you're losing that much weight, I want to see how much muscle mass you've lost.
Yeah.
Because you can actually do something to counter that and also to rectify it later, right? Um, Athletes, yes. But for most of us, like I've not had a DEXA scan, you know,
Yeah.
I don't see a need for one. Waist circumference is, if you want to worry about metabolic illness, waist circumference will tell you, you know. Um, so I personally don't need a DEXA scan for body composition.
As a practitioner, I feel like losing skeletal muscle mass is now also becoming fear-based. And so I'm trying to put it through, okay, through the practitioner lens. We're living in this modern world. We're becoming deficient in mitochondrial function. We're probably prone to a lot more acidity, pollution, toxicities within our environment, our water, our food, our air, and all of those things.
Yep.
So could that be contributing to bone loss on top of our sedentary lifestyle?
Bone or muscle?
Bone.
Bone loss. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, bone loss. Yes. So were you talking about DEXA for bone?
DEXA for bone and muscle also.
okay,
I think the
okay, yeah.
GLP-1 approach was brilliant.
Yeah.
But now let's flip it through bone
Okay.
loss.
So for osteopenia, I do think like I would get a DEXA scan after the age of 50 to know what you're dealing with. Okay? Because bone is like your retirement fund.
Yeah.
You need to keep packing it in. Because at some point you are going to retire, right? And you don't want to be left lost. So the more bone density you can get, the better. Okay? More importantly, Mona, if you have osteopenia in your 40s, you may not know about it until you get osteoporosis and have a fracture.
Right.
So if you can intervene with picking that up, which I agree with you, I see this, I cannot tell you a number of times I would do an x-ray, a chest x-ray. And again, I'm very old school the way I was taught, right? When you look at a chest x-ray, you always finish off by looking at the bones. It's just what you look in the
That's
x-ray.
what you see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what you see. And I cannot tell you how often I would see osteopenic changes. The bone density doesn't look the same in 40-year-olds. No symptoms. But it's because the calcium is being leached out of the bone through all those things that you mentioned.
Exactly.
Lifestyle, acidic, even thoughts. A lot of sympathetic drive will thin your bone. Too much cortisol will thin your bone. So
a lot of people are still obsessed with looking at a scale. And I have a lot of people, 40s and above, 40s, 50s, 60s, who still have an addiction to looking at a number, and they still are trained to mentally celebrate the weight loss. And I'm like, let's understand what you're losing.
Yes.
And why. I think but again, as a source of empowerment. And I share that just because I shared with you, my mom had major surgery, and I went to visit her in convalescent care at a hospital for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
The entire floor was men and women there for hip replacements, knee replacements, ankle replacements, many who had had falls and stuff like that. And I think, well, how are we talking about longevity without addressing this, right? Making that a focus of healthcare instead of, whether it's GLP-1s or the diet or whatever you're following. So maybe then we can say, if you're somebody who's driven by data, doing a DEXA scan to understand your muscle loss, your fat loss and stuff like that would be something that could be beneficial for you.
Yeah, it's a baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Ara, we're going to wrap things up, but I want to know, what does a daily rhythm look like for you? It sounds like variety is the name of the game.
Yeah. You nailed it. You know me pretty well already. I'm surprised. Yeah. I don't, there's very few routines that I have, really, to be honest. It's a lot of my day is dictated by, certain priorities, right? Like, so we walk the dog in the morning. That's my time with my wife. Okay. And over the years, we've decided certain conversations never to have in the morning, right? So it's always good. So we end up in a good mood.
Good marriage tip.
Yeah. But then I will, throughout the day, there's always tennis. It may be an hour, it may be 2 hours. So depending on how busy I am. Throughout the day, if I play tennis, then like that's my running movement stuff done. Throughout the day, there's some form of balance activity.
I love that.
I like walking on, like what I do, like we have blocks in the house and I put a pipe and I balance myself on the pipe. I'll try to do a handstand. Like I told you last time, I did a backflip. I do calisthenic movements, something that will affect balance, right? Then I always do some form of studying. Any given time, there's probably 7 or 8 online courses that I'm
Yeah,
juggling.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
Student for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, like it's like I'd rather do that than
Absolutely.
do a lot of other stuff, So
Yeah.
to me, it's like it's like, oh my God, every time I read something I'm like, oh, I can use it for this athlete. I can figure that out. And like it's a constant thing, and those 3 things are priority, right?
Beautiful.
And then we always make a point. We don't eat out very often. We make a point of like cooking
Yeah.
in the house. So I learned this from my mom. So it's funny. You made matcha for me today, and it was exactly like that.
Amazing.
I turn the phone off, and I am very deliberate. I learned it like I'm going to start crying. I saw my mom make me chicken curry in Malaysia, and I saw how she was cutting the potatoes. She was in the back of the kitchen. There's no TV, there's no noise, nothing. You can hear the crow, neighbors cockroach crowing, and she was very precise, And I observed this. This is many moons ago, and I looked at her and I said, "Why did you cut the potatoes like that?" And she didn't know I was there, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You're very precise when you cut the potatoes, huh?" And she goes, "Yeah, they have to be all around the same size, otherwise they won't cook evenly." And I was like, I don't do that. I'm in such a rush to make the food.
Yeah.
And I was like, my mom's food always tastes good. Always tastes better. I made a dish with her one time, side by side, in Malaysia, and hers tasted better. And I said to her, well, like, how? I did exactly everything you did. And she goes, I put love in it.
Yeah.
And that day I understood what that meant. The
love
deliberation of that is lost on us.
Absolutely.
That is lost. So one of the things that we do is when it's time to cook, like I'm very deliberate the way I cut the onions. I'm very deliberate the way I prep the food.
I love that you noticed that, and I love that you shared that story. At the ashram growing up, it was my karma yoga to be in the kitchen.
Oh,
And I didn't love
Wow.
it, but we would always have to listen to some kirtan in the background or some Indian bhajans or something like that. And over time, it went from like, oh, I just want to get this done to it was so meditative. And they would teach us how to infuse everything. So meditation came through the cutting and the chopping and the serving.
It is.
And now with the family or having dear friends over, I know the power of intention that can go into those things. So thank you for noticing. But the act of making matcha even,
Oh, I saw how you made it.
I now understand tea ceremonies. Like I get it. The slowness and the stillness and the intention that comes for you in that moment is so powerful.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate that.
Yeah.
And the stories from your mom that we have to carry on because
That's right.
is what's needed for
That's
younger
exactly
generation.
I basically understood what putting love into it meant.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so no routine. At some point, all of those things get done, and then I have my players, my phone calls, and all of that in between.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You're so inspiring. And
Oh
thank
my
you.
God, so are you. Like, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was so excited to have you on to really just share a different story of what it really takes when we think about optimization and excellence and your perspective on it, how it actually works and how there are lessons, for everyone every single day that we can incorporate into our lifestyle for health span, for longevity, things that aren't necessarily going viral right now.
No, and I'll finish with this. The Hadza tribe, I asked the chief this. I said, what's the purpose of the chief? And he gave me a very thoughtful answer, and he said, it's to find the next chief.
Oh, goosebumps.
Right? and they don't have a concept of like, I'm going to die, I don't want to avoid death. They don't live it. They don't think about it at all. It doesn't enter their head. Every day they just live. They wake up and they have an agenda, and his job is to look out and see who will take over from him. You know,
Beautiful.
it's amazing.
Where can people find you? You have, as I said, on Instagram, you're such a great teacher.
Oh, I've only started using Instagram recently. So on Instagram, I'm on Dr. Ara on call. On LinkedIn, I'm just Ara Suppiah, MD. And then I have my website, drarasuppiah.com. But yeah, that's normally where you can
Beautiful.
get hold of me.
This was one of my favorite episodes.
Oh my God. Thank you, Mona. You've been phenomenal. Like your questions were, I was scared to answer some of them. I'm like, people are going to send you hate mail. You want to go there? They probably send it to me now.
I'm fine with it. So what's one message that you can whisper into the ear of every high performer?
Every high performer.
That means our audience.
Yeah. Trust your instincts, even if they make no sense.
I love it. Beautiful. Dr. I can't wait to have you back.
Oh, thank you.